Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Cote, and I'm your podcast host on today's episode. Today we have Adam Pritchard, co-owner of Taylor's, joining us. We're going to learn all about his business, his journey to business ownership, and what it's really like to own and operate a business. We're going to cover his challenges and some best practices that he's learned along the way. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Adam. It is so great to meet you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Kay. I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, hopefully I've got some great things to share.
Oh, I'm excited to dive in for sure. Well, let's start off. Share a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Taylor's.
Okay. I am the co-owner of a property company. We have five sales offices and two lettings offices. We also specialize in surveys, all very much in the residential market. Um, I've been in a state agency now for almost 32 years. Uh, in all honesty, I don't quite know where that time has gone, albeit very, very quickly. But I guess that time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, it 100% does. That is true. Wonderful. Well, tell me, how did you get started? What's your why behind Taylor's? You got started, you said 30 plus years ago. How did you start in estates?
Right. I think I was always destined to become an estate agent. My family moved a lot when I was a child. We moved from different homes to different countries. Um, and I was always rather impressed with the estate agents that I met when visiting property with my mum. I remember as a child going to view property with my mum and seen some very smartly dressed estate agents arriving in some very nice cars, and thought, what a great job that must be. Um, I was about 15 years old when I did some work experience from school in an estate agency. Um, and I loved it. I had two wonderful weeks with a corporate company, and I was just so incredibly impressed with the work. It inspired me, um, and therefore, through the end of my school years and into college, I very much had it in my sights that I would venture into a career in a state agency.
That's incredible. It's like you knew right away, you saw this, you're like, wow, this looks like what I want to do. I think that's so cool because when you think of kids and when they find that passion, when they see that person, like whether it be a doctor or anybody, and they're like, wow, and like to get that at a young age is very cool. So I love that. And now, as so when did you start? When did you found Taylor's, and did you said you're co-owner? So did you have a partner off the bat?
Yeah, so in terms of my sort of business journey in Taylor's, I started with a corporate company of estate agents. In fact, the same company that I did my work experience with at the age of 15. They had stayed in touch with me throughout my education. Um, and I was very fortunate to go straight into a estate agency a week after finishing college.
Wow.
Um, it was then almost 30 years ago that I met one of Taylor's co-founders, Jeff Taylor, who offered me a job. In fact, he offered me an assistant manager role with him at his office in Kings Winford. Um, and I, crikey, worked my way up through the ranks. I became a branch manager at the age of 25. I became a director of the business in 2011. And then just 7 years ago, when Jeff was retiring, I had the opportunity to buy his share of the company, which is where I am now.
Oh, that is so cool. I like the journey that you know you worked your way up into this position and now you're taking it by storm. So what has life been like in the business since becoming the co-owner?
Mm. God, life has changed a lot. What was a very exciting prospect 7 years ago, um, still is, and I still thoroughly enjoy the work that I do. I must admit, I like being in a state agency. I'm very proud of our company, um, but my role has changed considerably in the last 7 years because I'm now taking a much more strategic role in terms of the company's development, our strategy, investing into new technology. And really a whole program of modern practice. I mean, my feet are still very much on the ground. I still undertake a variety of appointments.
Mhm.
Um, and I suppose you could say my role is quite sort of multifaceted now. Um, but I like keeping my feet on the ground. I still love going to meet prospective home sellers. I still love that feeling when you agree a very difficult sale. But overall, as a business owner now, my work is very different in terms of staffing, compliance, regulations. Um, but most of all, I seeing my role as the leader of a team. I mean, we have a staff of just over 60. And I I really put a lot of emphasis on their well-being, and creating hopefully the very best environment that I can for people to enjoy working with the company.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. And it's 60 staff. That's amazing. Now, kind of looking at that, like, what is your leadership style? I'd love to learn more about that.
Um, I think my leadership style is, I think at times it has to be semi-formal. However, I'd like to think I'm a great listener. I think it's important to recognize the strengths and the weaknesses of different staff that we have. Um, I like I like to get to know my team. I mean, we have got um, staff involved in sales, others who are involved in surveys, others who are involved in lettings, and an accounts office as well. Um, and I like to be an integral part of all of those different departments to bring people together. Um, and I think we get the best from people when we,
Mm.
as leaders of a business, are visible on the shop floor. And that's my style.
Well, thank you for sharing about that and kind of looking at your role now. You know, you've talked about how it's changed over the years, especially as you're stepping into this leadership role. What is something that challenges you in that? And, you know, especially being in business and there's so many moving parts to keep accountable and to keep,
Yeah.
you know, your eyes on. What's been a challenge that you faced?
I mean, the biggest challenge I think right now is adapting to new technology. I mean, the property industry has changed significantly in the last 30 years.
Mm.
Yes, in terms of regulations and compliance, um, but also through the method of marketing. I mean, we now have much more emphasis on property portals. Online advertising is playing a very big part now in what we do. Um, Likewise, social media and embracing the strength that that can bring to a business. It's a wonderful way to help us to understand our audience, but also to form new strategies for how we might market property for sale and present ourselves as a business. So I think my bigger challenges in more recent years have been investing in a new CRM system, but also bringing staff on board with those changes. I mean, it just at the end of last year, we moved from one computer management system to another. It was a huge task in taking data from an old system to another. um, and to retrain staff. Um,
Mm.
I spent many months planning for that change. Um, and thankfully, at the end of November, when we finalized that migration, it all came together brilliantly. But I couldn't have done it without the team and their involvement along the way. I mean, getting people to embrace change is not always easy. But thankfully, that was one I'm delighted to say that worked very well.
I definitely can see that, especially with all of the, we're seeing so many shifts with CRMs, AI, all the things. And I
Yes.
could see that, especially that's a big upheaval to have to take on. And what are some of the things that you're looking forward to, say, in the future as you're, working through these challenges and taking on these new systems?
I mean, my plan at the moment, and certainly looking at the few years ahead, is that we're going to invest in future growth, in continued growth. I mean, I've always taken a very organic approach in terms of the company's growth. Um, I like to I like to trial something, see it work, and then add to it as we go along. I mean, I am not a risk taker. I mean, I find it very difficult to advise someone to do something that I wouldn't do for myself. Um, but I also plan to invest in new talent. I think that within our company, we've had a number of new staff that have joined us with skills that perhaps we don't yet fully utilize. Um, and once again, looking at social media in particular, I think there are some tremendous opportunities there for us to grow even further. We've done wonderfully as a company with Facebook in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think we need to expand upon that. I think we need to do a little bit more in terms of Instagram and looking at some of the other social media platforms, including LinkedIn. Um, and I'm going to use some of our younger talent who I think are much more in tune with social media than I am. And that's very much my plan over the next couple of years.
Well, you just like opened up a golden nugget. I think that is something that our
Okay.
listeners or and viewers are going to take a lot from, because you're seeing where your current talent can grow and help fill the gaps of the changing industry and explore new opportunities. So I think that's a big golden nugget, and just having those people already working with you and just like allowing them to shine in new areas. I think that's a really, like, again, a good golden nugget for our listeners.
Yeah, I think for me, this is another reason why it's so important to know your staff. And it can be
Hmm.
very difficult to find the time away from the day job and the distractions, etc. But it's so vital that you understand your team. And for me, certainly in the last 12, 18 months, I have seen a lot of the younger people with us, those who are in their mid-20s, demonstrate an interest and a talent for other things. My plan now is to utilize that, their skills in our business going forward. But social media is going to play such a big part of this.
Hmm. Definitely. I definitely see that for your future. Well, this has been, again, such a fun conversation. I love learning about what you're up to and what you're planning to do for the future. So I'd like to go into a fun part of our conversation where we go into a
Okay.
rapid fire Q&A where I ask you four questions and you answer very top of mind. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
Okay, let's do this. I'm ready.
All right. Question number one is, what is a key to success for you?
I think without sounding corny, it's the support that exists around you. Um, and I think that can be from colleagues, and I think it can be from immediate family as well. I mean, I think I've been very blessed with the support that I've had over the years. And I think it's helped me to grow both as a person, but also within the business. Yeah, support is incredibly important.
Definitely. Love that. Second question is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
I think it's important to remember you can't do it all on your own. I think you have to delegate. And I say that, and I say that with a bit of a smile because it isn't something that I've always done particularly well. But certainly in the last 5 years, I've come to realize that it is impossible to do it all. That you need that team, you need people, and you have to have trust in those people, often to do the jobs that they're employed to do.
Mhm.
But delegation absolutely is so very important.
100%. Question number three is, what is a piece of content that you've taken in most recently? It could be a book, a podcast, anything that stood out to you.
Um, Gosh, I mean, I I suppose the book that I've read most recently would have been I Will Miss You. It's a book by Harlan Coben, and it was a book about a father's fight for his son. I'm also a father of a son, and I found that book quite relative to me. Um, but I also watch a lot of things on YouTube Shorts, and I'm often inspired by some of the presentations that I see on programs such as Dragon's Den. I'm fascinated by the proposals and the prospecting, etc., that's done on those shows, and I think a lot can be learned from those dragons. I think it's terrific, great show.
That's wonderful. I love that. Very fun answer. And our final question is, if you could wave a magic wand and overnight rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
Ooh. Probably to try and make change a bit easier than it really is. It would be. I mean, the thing I've come to learn in business is that there is no magic wand, and sadly, you have to be that magic wand. It has to be in you.
Mhm.
But change, yes, to be able to take on new challenges, etc., somewhat easier would be wonderful. But in reality, I know as a business owner now, you've just got to get on with it.
Oh, well, that's a great answer. And yes, this has been such a fun conversation. Before we get to our final question, how can people connect with you and your business online?
Okay, we have my company's website is tailors-estateagents.co.uk. People can also follow our Facebook page, tailors underscore estate underscore agents, or even correspond with me via LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And for our final question today, what is most inspiring to you today?
Um, Seeing the growth of those people around me. Again, I don't want it to sound like a corny answer, but I love to see people progress within our firm. We've done a lot of promotions over the last couple of years. People who may have started with us as an apprentice, who have finished their apprenticeships, who continue to work with us and continue to do well. I think nothing gives me greater pleasure, to be honest, than actually seeing personal growth, and that to me is inspiring. It is.
Oh, it really is. Well, again, Adam, this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your journey on the show today.
Thanks, Kay. Thank you.